Hello, this video is about Susan Williams, federal number 53909-177. She's at FCI Aliceville, Alabama. We ask that as you listen to this video, as you listen to her and her mother speak about her situation and what has happened, we ask that you would take action. In the description of the video, there's a change.org petition for her asking the president to commute her sentence. Her story is absolutely heartbreaking. We ask that you would listen with an open ear and an open heart, and that you would get involved, that you would share her story with others, that you would share the video, that you would subscribe to the channel, and you would help others as they need help. Give a voice to the voiceless, and we just appreciate everybody getting involved. Thank you, and please share the video. Hello.
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from Susan, an inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call or to accept. Dial 5 now. If you wish to block it.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing? Just so you know,
I'm good.
just so you know, we are recording this so we can post this on your video. How are things in there with the whole virus situation?
You know what? The virus has not touched here, so I mean we're doing pretty good. They have modified movement. They only have like skeleton crews working, you know, and food and you know, facilities and all of that. So I mean it's good.
So let me just get a little background information on you, and just for the people that are listening, what is your name?
My name is Susan Williams.
And your register number?
53909-177.
And the mailing address for the city or the facility that you're in?
Oh, it's
even if you just have even if you just have the facility itself, that's fine.
Yeah, it's Aliceville, FCI.
Okay, and do you have children?
I do. I have two. I have a son and daughter, Hayden and Isabella.
Okay, and just a little bit more background as far as who you were, you know, as a younger adult yourself. Did you have any dreams or aspirations as a child about what you wanted to be or what you wanted to do?
Yes, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I loved animals, constantly bringing home strays and keeping them.
So in the process of growing up, where do you feel like it went in the wrong direction?
You know, I had a good childhood, but I was extremely close to my grandparents. They were always there. My mother and I lived with them, actually. And I lost them. I feel like about the time that I lost them, I just started becoming a little detached. I ended up getting pregnant, and I had my son. It kind of brought me, you know, back to the right path. And then, to be honest, after I had my daughter, I found myself in an extremely negative relationship. It was bad. It was a really bad abusive relationship, and it just seems like from there things spiraled out of control.
And as far as this indictment goes, how did you, not to get into the particulars of the case, but what was your role, or what was your part in it?
Well, it was actually really short. Like I was telling you, you know, I was in the really abusive relationship. At that time, I was kind of struggling, trying to take care of my kids by myself, working a full-time job, and then coming home every night to a fight. Like, I think things kind of just took a toll on me. It was my then boyfriend, but he was constantly, you know, being put down every day, threatened, him putting his hands on me. You know, it just, I turned to drugs to cope, and it was out of control. By the time that I actually was brave enough and I broke up with him, I ended up losing my kids and my house at the same time. and I ended up moving into a friend's house across, all the way across town, and that's where I met my co-defendant. At that time, I felt like my whole world had just been ripped away from me. I lost my kids, I lost my house, and it seemed like he was the only one that was there. It didn't take long for me to realize that he was selling drugs, and I didn't know it at the time, but the police had already been, surveillancing him. I think it was inevitable that he was going down, and unfortunately, he took me down with him.
So in the process of getting indicted, what was the amount they indicted you for?
I believe I ended up pleading to a possession charge, but it was pretty much like a conspiracy, and I think going on the hearsay of some other people, it was like 3 ounces on my person, and then I had another guy that had put, I think, like 3 pounds on me off of hearsay, and that's what they charged me with.
So the 3 pounds was not what you were caught with. That was what somebody said that they had gotten from you.
That is what somebody said, yes.
Okay, so anytime during from the point you got indicted to the point you got sentenced, was there ever any discussion about how much time you were facing?
No, you know what? Whenever I got indicted, I was under the understanding that I was just going to, get charged for the 3 ounces. When we had gotten pulled over that day, I had 3 ounces on me, and I felt like that's what I was getting indicted for. Everybody was saying, "Oh, okay, possession's charged like 5 years," and that's not what it came out to be at all. Along with the conspiracy, they just started piling on everybody's weight together, and in the end, it ended up 200 months.
Who was your sentencing judge?
Judge John McBryde.
Had you heard about him prior to sentencing?
The first time I heard about him, I was actually going in to plead non-guilty. It's the first time that they arraign you, you go in and plead non-guilty. And when I went, there was a group that was going before me that was going to plead. I guess they were getting sentenced that day. I had no idea. I didn't even realize that was the judge over that entire courtroom. And I remember the girl was just distraught, and I remember speaking to her like, why are you worried about this? It's going to be okay. And that's when she had told me, you don't understand. Our judge is McBryde. I'm like, I obviously don't. And I remember she said, hang 'em high McBryde is what she said, and I said, what? Like, I don't understand. She said he is known for maxing everybody's time out. It doesn't matter what. And I didn't believe her, and she went in with 2 of her co-defendants, and they all came out. He just handed out 20 years, 20, 20, 20, like it was nothing. And I think that day was when my heart just dropped, and I felt like
This call is from a federal prison.
But yeah, I felt like it was a losing battle after that.
Was there ever a time where you felt like your lawyer wasn't representing you the way they should have because of...
You know what?
Go ahead.
To be honest, no, I felt like my lawyer did everything in her power that, she could do. There was, during my sentencing, she brought all kinds of evidence, to prove about the abusive relationship I was in, the things that I had endured. We had recordings, we had photographs, we had everything, and it seemed like she was just trying the best she could, and it was going nowhere with him. He didn't even want to see it. It was like, it didn't matter. And I remember she kept objecting to things so that I could, use it in my appeal. And it got to the point to where he was going to penalize me because she was objecting. He was going to take away my acceptance of responsibility. And if he did that, that was going to raise me up to 20 years,
So he said
period.
He said that in court, that if she didn't stop objecting, that
he felt that I was not taking responsibility for my actions, and she, explained to him, like, you can't, the way she had said it, you cannot penalize my my client because of what I'm doing. Like, this is, I'm objecting to these. And, he ended up, like, going back on it and saying, okay, I realize she has accepted responsibility. But I remember when that happened, like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I just felt like I was just standing there at the end.
This call is from a federal prison.
When I was speaking to him, you can just, when somebody's listening to what you're saying. And I just felt like it didn't matter what I said, that he was just looking at me, like, through me. I don't know. It was just weird. I just felt like it didn't matter what was going to happen, like, he was going to max me out.
So, what has it been like since with visitation with your children or family members? How has that been?
I email my mother every day. She has both of my children. She takes care of them on her own. I call as much as I possibly can. I try not to ask her for money, so the only money I get is from the job that I have here. But we do video visits, and she's came to see me. She's actually planning on coming, hopefully, if everything gets, cleared out with all of this, and visitation starts up again at the end of June. So
there's about 4 minutes left on here. If you had an opportunity to talk to the world about why this 200 months doesn't make sense, and what you would do with an opportunity to start your life over, and what you've been doing since you've been incarcerated to make things better, what would you say?
I'm constantly programming. I have worked my way up to grade 2 in facilities. I just started an electrical apprenticeship here. That's like a 4-year program. I've had nothing but time to sit here and work on myself, and I can honestly say that right now, like, I'm at my best. Like, I've figured out better coping skills. I have a healthier lifestyle. I'm rebuilding my relationship with my family. I know that I've made mistakes, and every day I work at correcting them. I feel like no matter what life throws at you, like, drugs are never the answer. And I know that nothing will ever be more important than my children and my mother. Like, I understand that I broke the law and that I need to make amends for that. I just feel like my sentence was extremely harsh. Like, as it stands right now, by the time I get released, like, both my children are going to be adults. My daughter was 2 when I got arrested. She's going to be 18 in 2031 when I get out. Like, I've already missed out on many milestones for both Hayden and Isabella. I know that I'm suffering in here, but my kids have it worse. Like, I just feel like people can rehabilitate,
Yes.
and I realize they can realize their wrongs and change it. I think it's possible to become a better person and improve who you are. They shouldn't just be glanced at and labeled a lost cause and left to rot in jail. Like, I just feel like all I'm asking is for someone to hear my plea and give all of us another chance to be mothers, like, to our children.
Absolutely. And when you say the programs that you've been involved in, what about the people on the outside? Is your mother the only support that you have at this time?
Yes. My mother and my family, but mainly it's my mother and my children. She takes care of my children by herself, and she's really the only one that I keep in contact with. My cousin and my aunt, but mainly my mother.
Well, our goal is to definitely get your story along with the other individuals' stories out there. We've heard from you and many of the others that they were handed sentences by Judge McBryde that were far and above and beyond what others with similar charges, similar criminal history, just from different judges or different districts or different states. And we just believe it's unfair. We don't think that it's right that just because it was in that spot that you deserve that much time. Obviously, like you said, you're not innocent. There needs to be a punishment, but 200 months does seem excessive to be able to rehabilitate and get your life back together. It seems like it's going to make it a lot more difficult. So we want to be able to share this. So I really appreciate your time, and we are going to talk to one of your family members. I believe it's your mother, and she's also going to share some stories about you. Is there anything else you want to say? Parting?
No, I believe that was all.
Okay, well, we will be in contact with you soon, and we definitely appreciate your time. We're incredibly sorry that you're going through this right now, and we just hope that there's a way that we can make a difference and help out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Good, good. So this interview is being recorded. We're going to use it for Susan Williams' video that we're producing here. Susan received a 200-month sentence. What is your name?
My name's Susan K. Williams. I'm her mother.
Okay. Just to get a little background information so everybody can understand a little bit more about who your daughter was, tell us what she was like growing up.
Oh, she was such a good girl. Everybody looked up to her. She had uh, great grades in school. She was in all sorts of athletics. The other girls in school would look up to her. She was always helpful. The family looked up to her. We knew that she was going to go places whenever she grew up because everybody loved her.
That's a beautiful thing. So, coming from that childhood to where she is today, where do you feel like things were started to take a turn for the worst?
Well, whenever my dad passed away, we noticed that she was changing, and we questioned her several times, and it seemed like we were getting her back and everything, and then my mother passed away, and we were extremely, extremely close to my mom and dad. And whenever my mom passed away, she went downhill fast. She went spiraling out of control. She ended up getting with men that were abusive, and they fed her addiction, and it was an easy way to here, take this here and go on with your, get out of my face, whatever. She was in abusive relations, and it seemed like from then on, it just went down. It went down so fast. Whenever she got pregnant with her first child, Hayden, she came out of it. She was doing great. But then she was living her life good, and then my mom passed away, and she went down again. She had Bella, and Bella brought her out, and she was doing so great. And then she got with an abusive relationship again, and she just went down, and it was hard to bring her back up. She was so close to my mom. Losing her was like losing her world. And I thought we were getting her back whenever she got in the relationship, and he really worked on her. There was no coming back with him.
I'm sorry. When you had in a previous discussion, you had talked about the amount of time that she was involved with this conspiracy. Could you elaborate?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, whenever she kicked the guy out, he called CPS on her, and CPS ended up taking the two kids. And they told me that I could have the kids in my possession, but I would have to make her move out of her house, which was right behind my house. So I went over there, and I had to tell her that she had to leave, and that she lost her kids, she lost her home, she felt like she was losing everything. She was put out on the street. I had no idea where she went. Next thing I knew, she was staying over in the house where an ongoing investigation was already going on before she ever got there.
she was over there from October the 7th to October the 21st whenever she was arrested. 2 weeks. She was over there for 2 weeks whenever she got arrested. And that 2 weeks cost her 16 and a half years of her life.
When she was indicted, how much time, well, prior to indictment, I know you said that there was a state case. How much time did you guys think that she was going to get?
2 years. And she did get 2 years. She did get 2 years with state. Hayden asked me, Grandma, are you going to get Mama out? And I said, no, that she's going to do this. That the last time, well, she's only been arrested one other time before this, and I told him that last time I got her out, and it didn't help. So this time I was going to make her stay, and maybe this will help her. So we expected 2 years, and then she got indicted with the federal, and I said, okay, well, she's probably going to end up doing maybe 5 to 8 years, somewhere in there. And he says, well, we can do this, Grandma. And I says, yeah, I know we can. It was really hard because I was so mad whenever she was arrested. But I was hurt too because I felt like she could have chose between what she was doing and coming back home. And she was so far out of it, she couldn't have chose it all. And I realize that now. So I'm not angry with her. I just wish that I could have done more for her.
I understand that. So bring us back to the courtroom sentencing. Up until that point, did you have any idea about how much time she was going to get federally?
No. And our attorney kept telling us she's in a lot of trouble because she's going before Judge McBryde. And I told her, I says, well, this is the first time this is her first really huge deal with them. And she says, you need to Google his name. And you need to find out who he is before you get to court because you're going to be shocked. And I said, okay. So I did Google his name, and I thought, okay, well, this is in the past. Maybe he's learned his lesson because it said that he got barred from doing criminal cases for a year, so maybe he learned his lesson. I was trying to be positive.
So take us back to the courtroom sentencing day. What was that like, and what happened?
Oh, that was a nightmare. We went in there and we sat there all day long, and our judge, our lawyer kept trying to bring up in before the judge that this guy that was doing all the talking, everything he said was against the other guy, and he was assuming that Susan was doing this too, but he didn't say, yeah, I seen her do it. He was like, well, you know how it is. And whenever he kept changing his story, and the lawyer was like, well, he keeps changing his story. And the judge says, he asked the attorney, the U.S. Marshal, do you believe what he's saying? And the U.S. Marshal says, yes. And he goes, well, then I believe him too. So nothing our lawyer said was going to make a difference.
So what happened as he's saying the sentence? What was your reaction?
My heart fell to the floor. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to cry. I wanted to be sick to my stomach. There was nothing we could say. There was nothing we could do. There wasn't nothing else to say. That judge, he had control of his room. He didn't care whether he was innocent or guilty. He had already made the decision before we ever got there. The lawyer was trying to argue about the drugs that had been added on as ghost drugs. I never even heard of the word ghost drugs. I had to even ask her, what is that? And they had added so much to Susan that in the end, the judge was going to give Susan 20 years because of the lawyer arguing about the amount of drugs that in the end, our lawyer had to say, she is not refusing this here. I am refusing this. And he says, oh, well then if it's you refusing it, then I'm not going to give her 20 years. I'm going to give her 200 months. I was so scared he was going to say the 20 years because the lawyer was arguing with him and it was going to cost Susan more years in prison.
So what has it been like since then? Since sentencing, what has it been like for visitation with the children, communication? What has that been like?
It's been hard. We can't see her as much as we want. Whenever she was going to federal court, they moved her to Parker County, which is a little over an hour's drive away. We'd go in there, we could only see her for 45 minutes. And whenever we would get up to leave, Bella, she was, you got to remember, this was 5 years ago, and Bella was 2. And whenever we would leave, Bella would scream, and we literally had to fight her out of the visitation area because she was trying to get to her mama. She didn't understand. She's just a little baby, you know. Yeah. She wanted her mama. We would cry all the way home. All of us would cry all the way home. We've only got to see her once since she's been in federal prison. And we probably won't get to see her this year because of the coronavirus, but we've only got to see her once, and we miss her so much. And she's changed so much by being there. She's come so far, and I don't know what else to do. So my hands are tied.
I understand that. I definitely understand that. The purpose of this video and the purpose of this interview is to ask the public to get involved, to sign the petition. There's going to be a petition in the description of the video. And we're going to ask that the president commute her sentence, not only because it was an excessive sentence, but she's also a part of a large group of people that have been given lengthy sentences that do not represent their part of the crime, do not represent giving somebody the ability to rehabilitate or change their life. Our hope is that people will hear her story from her and hear it from you and get involved in any way possible to help Susan achieve some sort of relief from this 200-month sentence. I'm incredibly grateful for your time. Thank you for being vulnerable and open about everything. Is there anything that you would like to say to the people that we're asking to get involved to help your daughter?
I just want them to know that the pain that this has caused our family has been extremely huge. Hayden acts out in anger. He blames police officers. We've had to explain to him it's not police officers that has caused this, that his mother did what she did, and she owned up to it, and she pleaded guilty to this. She did her part, and she's continuing to do classes in prison and do everything that she can to get back home to her children. We just want them to see that not only is she suffering being in prison by herself, but her kids are suffering too.
Yeah. You know, again, we're grateful for your time and thank you for being open about all of this. I'm going to stop the recording. After listening to this, don't let the opportunity to affect someone's life, the opportunity to help somebody, don't let it pass you by. Please sign the petition in the description below and please get involved. We thank everybody for your help and your support. If you have loved ones that are going through something similar, our information is also in the description below. Thank you, and God bless.